Hi, welcome to another episode of NCBA's Coffee Break. I'm Nathan Wilner, and today I'm really excited for our guest to tell us about a new NCBA initiative. Uh, but before we get into the details, why don't we go ahead introduce ourselves, who you are, where you're from, and what kind of law you practice. Why don't we start with Joy?
Hi, my name is Joy Jackson. I am the CEO of Faber and Brand Law Firm based out of Columbia, Missouri, and we specialize in collection law and creditors' rights.
I'm Sarena
Uh,
Gaylor from Couch Lambert. I'm a member there, and we are based out of New Orleans. And we also do creditors' rights, and we're in 9 states.
and David.
And I'm David Weimer. I'm with Kramer and Frank. We have offices in Kansas City and St. Louis, practice in 4 states in the areas of creditors' rights and collection law.
So, seems like just yesterday, but last week or so, we were in New Orleans for the NCBA conference, Connect, which was really successful and had over 800 attendees. It was a great event. But we used that event to kind of do some outreach at the local law schools. So, you know, maybe we could describe what the program was and why you believe it's crucial for practicing attorneys to engage with law students, particularly in specialized fields like creditors' rights. So, who wants to kick us off about the program, why we were there, and what we were trying to accomplish?
I'll go for first on that. It was an idea we had to try and improve the demographics of our organization because, frankly, nobody grows up thinking they're going to go into creditors' rights law. And we, most of us kind of stumbled into it. And yet, for a new practitioner, it is a very good area, at least to start in, for a number of reasons. So I think the reason to engage with students is so that they get a wider idea of what's out there, what kind of opportunities there are, and what it's like to actually practice law in a real courtroom as opposed to the idealized version that they get in law school.
And David's being humble because it really was his idea, and just thank you for uh, thinking outside the box because it was really successful. Joy, what do
I
you think
put
about?
a couple of other people's ideas together. That's all I did.
Well, it worked, and we appreciate it. Joy, what do you think about this?
I think it's, as David said, this is not an area of the law that I knew about. I don't think probably any or many of us did in law school. And it's just an amazing area to practice in. I mean, not only do you get courtroom experience right away, but you get it in broad geographical areas like Serena and David. Our firm is, practices in multiple states. And the the experience you get going to court in a big city versus a rural community, it varies greatly and it makes the job exciting. And it's not something that most attorneys get to do in their practice, as well as having multiple licenses that you're actually using. That's another aspect of this career that is unique. And it's important to inform and educate law students that this area of law exists to practice in.
Yeah, and
Exciting is one way to put it.
to follow up with what Joy had stated, you know, I have a different background in that I never wanted to be an attorney. And so getting into this field was, I wasn't necessarily looking for an attorney job. And one of the things that we were able to provide to the students was just really how broad our industry is. Even though you may be an attorney in the firm, there's so many pieces, whether it be security, auditing, accounting, the range is so huge. And you don't know that whenever you're in law school. You just presume, well, you're sitting at a desk, you're either going to court and, having a paralegal assist you with drafting things and doing research. But there's so much more in our industry that comes along with being in a law firm.
And again, there's like you bring up a great point. There is so many different facets to creditors' rights law. So from from the experience that we had, and the two law schools that we went to Loyola and Tulane, in New Orleans. How do you think the interactions with the NCBA lawyers and the law students, how does that impact career paths? And, what did you feel about the interactions, and how did it feel when we left those law schools?
Well, first, Joy did an amazing job on her presentation. She's a wonderful teacher. Um, and so she was really engaging with the students. And even when we had a few students at Loyola, we had that one-on-one conversation with them. And I think that went a long way because they were able to ask us questions. We offered them an opportunity to follow up with us, which they have. And so I think having our team go there, it was something different that they don't normally experience.
Yeah, and I would add to what Serena said. I was kind of blown away about how many students at Tulane came up to us after the presentation. And I was just sharing with Nathan before we began recording this about the interactions and the follow-ups that I'm getting, not only for people who were interested in what we do, but saw the wide range of networking capabilities that we have due to the nature of our job, and allow us to help them in their life and in their career path as a launching pad. And that's a positive memory, impactful memory that they're going to carry with them, from something a collection attorney did for them early on in their career.
I would add that it appears to me that a lot of lawyers have the impression that we're not real lawyers. We don't practice real law, and we're just in it because it's easy. And that's about as far from the truth as it can get. We are by far the most highly regulated attorneys in the country. And the range of consumer protection laws and other types of regulations we have to comply with is just staggering, which is part of why there are so many opportunities for us. As Serena was saying, just in the compliance area alone, you have audits and risk assessments and internal audits and building policies and procedures, etc. So it's amazing the opportunities that we can present.
And I think that, as industry in general, and an NCBA member law firms sometimes struggle with hiring new associates or getting attorneys in the door. And primarily, I think people don't really understand the kind of work that we do and the opportunities there for incredible courtroom experience. People take jobs with prosecutors' offices and public defenders' offices right out of law school. They're not large, high-paying salaries, but that's not why they're doing it. They're doing it for the courtroom experience. They're to understand, trial advocacy and jury trials and things of that nature, and to really get that under their belt. And then they take it to different careers. And our practice is even more than that. I mean, depending on the firm, you're going to learn all kinds of things as far as regulatory law, and it could be class action law. There can be administrative law. There's so many different facets to it. But the one thing you'll get in a courtroom pretty quickly. And I think that was something that interested the law students. So what unique perspectives and insights do you think that events like this, at Tulane and Loyola, like, how do these interactions benefit both the NCBA law firms, the industry, and really the reputation of the kind of work that we do, as well as law students? Who wants to kind of think about it from that perspective?
Well, Nathan, I think that, you already touched on it. The fact that we can go to where the future associates of our industry are and meet them where they are and teach them about this opportunity and this possibility. And by the way, you spoke about our career path, touching on class action and regulatory and different areas of law. It touches on so much more than that. I mean, we have cases that, sometimes there will be family law issues or bankruptcy issues or personal injury issues. I mean, that is one of the fascinating aspects of our field. And again, these are things that the students don't commonly know, like a public defender's office, like a prosecutor's office. So it benefits the firms because we're able to go find new young attorneys who are engaged and want to explore and expand their mind and expand their practice and their experience. And it also benefits the students because we're showing them other opportunities that are out there and able to give them some practical experience early on in their career, whether it be a job during law school or an associate job out of law school. And then maybe they'll even stay on and become a partner like Sarena someday.
Right. As Joy mentioned, we've got a lot of outreach from the students, and actually one of the students is coming to my office in a couple of minutes to meet with me. So I know one of the topics that we always hear at the roundtables is hiring and retention, and particularly with the attorneys. It just seems like there are no attorneys out there, or the salaries that they're requesting are just so out of proportion with what we can afford, right? And so these students, knowing that what the opportunities are within the firms, definitely gets them interested and in the door, whereas they may have just passed your Indeed posting because your firm has 1-star review. Of course it's going to have 1-star review. We're collecting debt, right? And so we're not going to have fancy billboards like a personal injury attorney or a cool commercial. And so I think this is definitely going to help with staffing for the firm side. So selfishly, I would like to go back every year to the schools and do a presentation specifically for that purpose. And bringing in law clerks so that they definitely know what's coming on, if they were to join as an attorney, because sometimes that transition is very difficult to student comes out and they're thinking, I'm gonna be an attorney, I'm gonna be, doing all these things I see on TV, and then like, wow, there's a lot of paper in your office, or, it's not what they were anticipating. So even like starting the clerkship, internship programming within your firm, it'll help that retention piece that sometimes we see people onboarding and then quickly offboarding.
Well, at Sarena, you talked about going back every year. It's not just us who want to do that, but the career development admissions, administrative individuals at Tulane basically asked us to come back every year because we're able to provide such real world knowledge to their students and talk about how to begin exploring what type of law you want to practice and how to get a job. And again, because our range is in all 50 states, not all of these students are going to want to stay in the state or in the town where they went to law school, but we have connections everywhere through NCBA because it's such an amazing nationwide organization. It allows us that opportunity for them too.
A friend of mine recently told me, and he's the head of one of the bigger firms in NCBA, and he told me that he hired a couple of new attorneys and they ghosted him. I couldn't believe it. I have to think that they thought there was some sort of a good reason for it, but I believe that they probably heard something afterward that told them they didn't want to be in that field from someone who's not in the field. And for us to reach out and talk to these students individually and let them know what it's about, what it's really about, not the biased version that they're going to get from other attorneys, is really valuable. And not every attorney is going to want to eventually become a partner in our firms. Some will want to do something else, but this is a good place to start that journey. You could go on to become an in-house counsel with a big creditor, or go on to become someone who handles the defense of these consumer protection statutes that we were talking about. There are all kinds of career paths, both in and out of one of our firms, and it's really worth exploring.
And you raise a really good point, is that this kind of experience, whether it be in the courtroom, whether, be feeling comfortable presenting a case, or, evaluating regulations, there are other opportunities as well as, getting a job with a state attorney general's office that does consumer protection, or the CFPB, or other federal agencies that are in the financial services regulatory space and deal with consumer protection issues. So getting this experience is really invaluable, quite frankly. I hope we're not letting a secret out and going to be, inundated with law students. But the truth is, the level of experience and knowledge that NCBA members have always impresses me. I mean, it's seriously impressive. It's completely different than I think what people think before they get to know who the practitioners are, their sincerity and dedication to doing things right.
Well said.
Yeah. So we're getting close to our end of our cup of coffee, so to speak. And so why don't we go around with final thoughts before we end this episode. So in no particular order, we'll start with let's start with David.
This is not the career path for everyone. Not everyone wants to be in the courtroom. A lot of lawyers never go to court. But if you are interested in going to the courtroom, this is the place for you, even if it's not what you want to do your whole life. You're going to get immediate experience in courtrooms and learn what it's like to practice in front of real judges in real courts whose idiosyncrasies change from courtroom to courtroom, even across the hall from one another.
David spoke towards the students. I'm going to speak towards the attorneys in our industry. Attorneys get a bad rap, and then attorneys in our niche area of the law get an even worse rap. If you want to do something about it, participate in programs like this. Get out there, make your communities better, and show people who you really are at the core of yourself as a person and what your firm stands for.
This program is just a platform that we're starting, right? This is the first time it's ever been done. So our anticipation is that it will grow and continue to be successful for both the law students and the firms. And so regardless of what your day-to-day is, you're going to the court, or if you're on the back side doing operations, everyone's participation is needed. It's having that access to so many different facets of the industry is really what got the conversation going, I think, for the students at Tulane and Loyola. So I hope to see some excitement and participation from NCBA members.
Yeah. So again, thank you to our guests today, and again to our listeners. If this is something of interest to you, and if you want to go back to your law school, we want to help you do that. So please reach out to me, and anyone on this episode would be happy to talk to you about how rewarding this experience was. It really was. And I hope others will take advantage of it. So with that, thank you again. And thank you to our listeners. And we'll see you all on the next episode of NCBA's Coffee Break. Have a great day.
Thanks, Nathan.